Hey,
Boy.
she's letting us do a release party. Serena, we love you. Let's do the thing.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, and welcome back to Unprinted Pages. With me today, we have my co-host, Ron, and then our guest, Serena Mossgraves. Hi!
Hello.
Welcome back to the show, guys, and welcome back, viewers. So, Serena, you have this amazing thing. Please tell us about what it is.
Well, I end up writing a lot of short stories over various anthologies that Fae Corps does and other places. And what I do is I put them together. I did it with Apocalypse Anthenum, which is Anthenum means library. So I did the same thing there. It was just, this is where my stories and sometimes poetry goes. And with this one, I wanted to do the same thing, but I had a story in mind for it. And it involved an angel and basically the scribe angel kind of thing. And so this one was directed a little bit with the title story. But I try and do that with all of it. And if the story was published in something other than Fae Corps, then the publishing house is acknowledged, and how to get to them and what have you is listed in the book. Then Fae Corps is, of course, listed in the book because it's my publishing house. I'm not going to leave that out. But it is a collection of stories that don't necessarily have a theme through them. It's just some of them were published before, but I try and, when I do these, I try and add a few that are not, for whatever reason, published before. I feel like that gets the reader something new for just getting this book. Other than the fact that they get all of these stories together, which in and of itself is not a bad thing. So
Of the 4 I've read, I've really loved it, and the dragon one and the title story were really fun, and I'm looking forward to finding out if the snowman story's in it. I haven't got that far.
I don't know if it is or not. I'd have to look, to be honest. If it's not, that's one that is going to end up being a book all of itself, because the snowman is a character that I have a full novel planned for.
Okay.
So, and the snowman actually is one of those things that beget another short story that it's one of those things. I went in and was looking through my current notebook that I'm working on of short stories like what Heaven's Forgotten Tales is. That one's going to be called Stacked Nightmares. And I looked through that because I was going in to work on the story that I was writing for Onward Adventures. Hi,
Hi,
Kyle.
Kyle.
Hi, Pyle.
And when I did, I actually got a pleasant surprise because I had forgotten all about the little story I had written in that. And it was actually half decent. It was like, whoa, I can't believe I wrote that.
It has so much potential to be so many different angels and so many different demons if you went that route.
Yeah, I don't see the snowman in here. Like I said, though, the snowman has its own book. The prologue will be in the book, as well as probably, I'm not sure if the Reaper's Child, which is the story I just mentioned, will be there or not, but it's going to be in Stacked Nightmares. So that, then again, Stacked Nightmares kind of fits it better than, at least the Reaper's Child, it does better than it does the actual Snowman book. The Snowman actually was a game thing. My boyfriend and I were playing a game, and Frosty appeared in one of the games, and I adjusted it for the story. He does awesome. A lot of inspiration things for me. So
that's what a good husband is for. Did you have a question, Ron?
Sure. I was looking at the cover of your book, and I wonder why you chose that particular cover, or what inspired it, or do you think? I mean, I guess it's 3 questions. Do you think that that cover matches the overall theme of the stories in the book?
Yes, but in a way, no. I chose that particular cover for 2 reasons. One, a stone angel seems like it would be a forgotten tale all in of itself. 2, the dark idea of what one might find in a graveyard has a lot of potential as far as forgotten tales, and the stone angel is often seen in graveyards. The cover itself, actually, when I chose it, I had planned on doing something entirely different with it. I'd planned on trying to do a broader piece with the title story, make it into a full novel of some sort, expand it. And when I got to writing that story, I realized that was not a possibility, that story did not have that much potential in it. I don't know if that makes any sense. Some stories are only meant to be short. And when I realized that, I guess I realized that perhaps it would be better to use this to do more of a blend, a library of tales like Athena was. I guess every time I start a story, I expect it to be a novel, and then when it's not, I sit there and I look at it and go, okay, is it me or is it the story that's not living up to expectations?
That's an interesting thought.
Oh, yeah. I like that point of view. And I can see with it being Forgotten Angel in a Cemetery, there are 2 or 3 stories that I saw that either involve angels or involve death or the idea of we're going to go unalive this person. And I can see how those fit. And Into the Jungle still gives me nightmares.
I'm sorry. No, I'm not really, but I am sorry.
I would think that's a good thing.
Oh, it is.
Yes,
That's a high compliment.
A compliment.
Yeah.
But no.
So I know that you design a lot of your own covers, and I think you even helped me design this one here. Out of all of the covers that you've designed, what's been one or some of your favorites that you've done?
This is going to sound funny, but the one that was done for Patricia Harris's Creative Juices is absolutely my favorite. Not the first one or the second one, because both of those I was trying to go very professional. And I was not using any of my own creativity, any of my own style. And I had somebody, I asked them for an opinion on the book, and they told me the only problem they had with the book was that the cover didn't suit it. That it didn't suit me. And when they said that, it kind of clicked that maybe I could make covers that did suit me. And every cover that I have made since then has been I'm happy with it.
Awesome.
I don't tend to, if I dislike a cover, I will go back and revisit it. I won't leave it there for very long. So if you see me change a cover on a book, it's usually because I didn't like the cover to start with.
Can't release a book without a cover.
Yeah.
Exactly. What is the one story in the book that you want people to see more?
Now I got to look through. I know that I enjoyed the one from Fae Propaganda really well, Becoming, and I enjoyed Shudder, which was in the Owlite Menagerie really well. I also enjoyed the one that I put in Fracture Minds anthology, The Monster I Love. That's in here as well. I waited to say that because I wanted their anthology to have time, obviously, to be known. But that was a really hard one for me to write, and I think I did really well with it.
You did awesomely.
I think all the stories in this book were really fun to write, and each one of them had a different thought behind them. Like with the Into the Jungle, I enjoyed that one, and like you said, it gives you nightmares. That is a compliment, and it feels like that means I did something right there. But that doesn't make Out of the Fire, which is the dragon one, any less of a good story.
No, I love that one.
It doesn't make Roommates from Dark Dreams any less of a good story. That was a hard one for me to write because it's a romance story, but it doesn't have what most people would consider romance in it. It's a very casual romance story, and I love that.
Well, it's very hard to have a romance when your suitor is non-corporeal.
Yeah. Having a ghost for a romantic interest is definitely something different.
But it's picking up traction in the romance world. There's so many tropes with so many different cryptids. It's not funny, let alone ghosts.
Well, and for me, writing normal romance is just not something that's easy. I mean, I get to the sex scenes and I'm so embarrassed that I read romance. I love romance, but I get so embarrassed writing it that it just doesn't go anywhere.
Why is that? Why do we stumble like that when, you know, we consider ourselves professional writers and we read it in other books. Other people have obviously written it, but nobody ever talks about that, like how hard it is to write a sex scene and make it good, make something that somebody will go, that's just stupid, or, you know, this is really good, it's drawing me in. Why is that? Why is it so damn hard to write sex scenes?
I don't know. I have been lucky enough to know a couple who actually are really good at writing them. So it ends up being, I'm sitting there, I read these people's work and I get self-conscious. I'll sit there and go, I can't write that good. I really can't.
It's hard for us because we can't see ourselves in those situations. We can't see ourselves putting that vulnerable part of ourselves out there for others to see. What you did with your Monster I Love story, because I can't remember the name of it for the life of me.
Heat and Ice.
Heat and Ice. What you did with Heat and Ice is really good. You could feel the attraction between them. You could feel the love between them. And I read it like, I think 3 times and before it got published both times. So yeah, it's really good. Now, the way Ron would do it would probably be very different when he finally lets himself do it. But it's
funny that you should say that, because that's kind of what I was thinking while I'm sitting here listening to you. I think part of the problem that I have with it is I don't write sex scenes because I don't really want people to know just what kind of freak I really am, because I can come up with some really perverted shit. but it's more so than
There's
that.
a market for it.
There's
I'm
always
well
a
aware
market
of that.
for it.
We've had this discussion already. I am well aware there's a market for it, and I still want to dip my toes in it and see how well I would do with it. But I still, as a general rule, I have a hard time writing something that I wouldn't share with my mom. And that's kind of one of those things I wouldn't share with my mom. She doesn't need to know the kind of thoughts that go through my head.
You
No,
know?
she doesn't. That is why pen name and
Yeah.
this group here.
That-
You have
That's
a
the
beta
fun-
reader group right here.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know. I mean, if I were to publish that under a pen name, and I'm still considering that, she would know the pen name, and then she would know to stay away from those kind of books. And it's still probably the kind of thing that she would give me the side eye at the Christmas dinner table, like, not my son, but whatever. If it's making me royalties, then who am I to complain, right? I'm sure they would probably sell better than my regular books.
Well, the fun thing is the pen name thing, I almost didn't, to be honest, because most people know in this day and age, when you write a pen name, most people do know who you are writing as a pen name.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to do the pen name thing with any real accuracy and not have people know who's behind the pen. Okay.
It just doesn't stay anonymous for very long. You're correct.
But
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure you picked up both pen names I'm writing poetry in under, didn't you?
Yes. Yes, I did. But the fun thing is, that's okay. In this day and age, people don't really pick it. It used to be, it was a big deal about, writing under a different name if you were writing one thing or this thing or that thing. Nowadays, it's not as big a deal. It's just like, oh, it's just a pen name. But I felt like marketing my kids' books, which I write as Patricia Harris, obviously, and writing the dark and creepy things that I write as Serena might not go as well. I never actually expected to write a kid's book as Serena, but Serena's putting one out this year because Dante asked for one by Serena.
Well,
Can't argue with
it's
that.
not like he isn't he's picking things up. He's picked up who's reading to him. He's picked up what's going on around him, and he knew you wrote the other stuff because he heard you read it to him.
Right.
So automatically, Serena can do my skeletons eating an eyeball sandwich. Do I understand where that came from? No. It doesn't make him happy? Yes.
Hopefully the story worked out to make him happy, but
he did. We read it like 3 times.
But it's just one of those things that if a 5-year-old asks you to do something, you're going to do it, regardless of if you plan to do this or not. So,
well, lately, if a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old ask me to do something, Mommy and Daddy figured out how to make that happen yesterday.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's the way things go.
Here's a question for you. I think one of our hopes and dreams as writers is that somebody will read our stuff and be so enthralled with it that they'll want to pick it up and convert it into digital media, i.e. make a movie of it or use it in some other videographic format. Out of all of the stories, everything that you've written, what would you like to see that happen to? What story do you have you think would translate well into video format?
Death in Neverland.
Oh my God, yes.
Man, you said that
so
quick.
Death in Neverland was my horror take on Peter Pan. And I have nightmares about it. Because what started that one is my boyfriend tells me, what if in Peter Pan, Hook wasn't the villain? What if Peter Pan was the villain? And that got my brain going.
Well, did you see the recent movie that was made and that about that?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, there was like how they did Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Yeah, I've heard of that one, but I haven't seen it. I don't tend to watch a whole lot of television or movie, to be honest.
Well, now a lot of these Disney characters, since they've reached the 100-year mark, they've entered public domain. So somebody is taking these characters and converting them slightly to make horror movies out of them, which is how Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey came about. And they're doing the same thing with Mickey Mouse, with Popeye, and they did it with Peter Pan as well. I did recently see the new Peter Pan movie. It is dark. It is gritty. It is violent. It is gory. It was way better than the Winnie the Pooh or Pooh, Blood and Honey and all of that. So
I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, because I think you might like it since you said Death of Neverland so quickly.
Yeah,
just that scene of your Tinkerbell sitting.
I called her Jinxie Bell because I was trying to avoid any copyright issues with Disney.
Jinxie Bell sitting on top of the dead bodies. Yeah, I think it fits. Hi, Ori.
I'm joining the release party. Being a stinker.
She's a pretty cat.
Always room for kitties.
Always. And sometimes there may even be tiny people show up. Out of all of the different stories and poetry, is there still one story that you want to go back to that you haven't continued with yet?
Frosty comes to mind because, well, obviously, I plan to go back to the story in here that was in Fae Propaganda, but I plan to do it under a different pen name. It's going to be under Susan Ann Andrews, which, fun fact, was the pen name that I wanted to write under when I was like 9. That one is going to be for my more romance based, and that story needs to be more romance based. And I have a story that I've been working on with that particular pen name that called Last Forever. I've been working on it for years. It was originally written all the way through, but I didn't like how one of the chapters turned out because it was one page and I was 9 years old. So I threw it all away because I was dumb. 9-year-olds are dumb. Okay.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
But, so I do plan on going back to that one. And I've got a story that I have been writing since high school. I've got it. The story I wrote in high school was the first chapter, and I'm working on making it a book. It needs to be a book, but it hasn't really gotten very far because I end up with that one getting distracted very easily. And then I'll go back to it and it will be amazing for about 5 minutes, and then I'll go, you know what? That's all I've got for this one. So it sounds bad, but really that's what it ends up being.
It's work in progress.
Yeah, and it probably will be for quite a while. But that one in high school was called Elizabeth, but now it's called The Journal. And it's a single letter from a girl involved in a witch hunt, and she tells her story, and the end is, if I escape, then good, but if I'm hearing voices, then this is probably all I'm going to write. And well, I decided that story needed more. You needed to know if she escaped. You needed to know if, it was just her going insane. And so I continued it. Her great granddaughter found her journal, found this letter in a journal. And the book's going to be about how she's delving into her past, or her family's past rather, to find this witch. And it's kind of an interesting story, but I just haven't gotten around to finishing it because, like I said, I'll get a paragraph in and get bored with it. So it's not keeping my attention like it should.
Understandable.
How often do you write? And do you have a set schedule for writing, or is it just something you do when the mood strikes you?
Mostly when the mood strikes me, but I do have something of a set schedule. I have gotten myself a goal set: 250 words a day plus 2 poems. Which is why I put out so much, why I'm prolific, as the two of you mentioned. Now 250 words can be a kid's book, or it could be a paragraph in a novel I'm working on, or it could be a blog post. It doesn't have to be creative at this point, because I've found that if I limit it to just something in my work in progress pages, I won't do it. And there are days where those goals don't happen, admittedly, because of life being chaos, or because I'm doing edits for this person, or I'm trying to get this set up, or I'm sick. I'm down with a migraine. Unfortunately, migraines happen quite frequently for me, so that is a problem. But when I do the writing that I have set as a goal, meeting that goal is doable. It's not something I've set this huge goal. The reason why I've never passed on, like, the writing challenges in November, which require you to do 50,000 words in a month, that writing goal was too big for me. And realizing
we love you too.
We
and
love
you're
you
welcome
too,
on
Raz.
if you want to
Welcome,
come join
Raz.
us.
But the reason I've never per se won any of those writing challenges is because that goal was too high for me. If I did that, I would have no time for anything else. I would have no time for drawing. I would have no time for publishing. I would have no time for editing. I would have no time for music. I would have no time for boyfriend. I would have no time for child. That did not work for me. I needed to be able to go, okay, today is
Extra next? What does that mean?
Yeah, I'm curious myself. I needed to be able to say, you know what, today is not a good headspace for writing. I'm going to go and step away from it today and pick up my sketchbook. Or today is not a good day for writing. I'm going to go spend time with my child, who will randomly introduce me to new anime when I'm in a bad mood. The first one they introduced me to on that one was The Ascendants. Sexy.
Autocorrect.
Correct. Anyway, the first one they introduced me to was Ascendants of a Bookworm. It's a little isekai where this little girl is, a little librarian girl gets taken to another world, and she reincarnates in the body of a sickly child. And she's somebody like me, somebody who loves books, and this world, books are a rarity. They're for the rich. But she's in the body of a sickly, poor child. And she decides, okay, I'm going to make my own. I can do that. And the anime goes through her trying to make her own, and it goes through her ending up in the church because that's where the books are. And it's actually a pretty good anime. The last one they introduced me to was Spy Family. Spy X Family is, I think, how it's listed, but it's just so cute.
Yes, my kids love that one a lot.
Then there are days where I don't feel like writing, and I will go sit next to my boyfriend, and he'll say something, and then I'll end up writing sitting next to him, because a lot of times this is what I write on. I have, this one has a stylus, but I almost never use it. I have an app, and I use this almost exclusively. Let's see if I can get it to where it'll show. This
Let me bring you up.
This is kind of blurry.
Yeah.
But this is Heaven's Forgotten Tales, how it looked for me writing it.
Okay.
Interesting.
And each section is a group of pages. Each section was...
They're hyperlinked, and you just tap on one and it goes to it?
Yeah, it goes to a page. Okay. And then, like, the page, it looks like that. It's a very...
Wow.
Now, admittedly, I have to pay for OneDrive so that I have the space for all the writing I do.
Yeah.
But most of the time I was paying for whatever notebook app, and it didn't have the options that this one has. So it's worked out nicely for me.
Can't you consider that a business expense?
I can. Yeah, and I often do. I consider that, and I consider Canva to be my two business expenses, really.
I'm old school. I'm still the Microsoft Word kind of guy. I type up everything in Microsoft Word, and I pretty much always have. I'm impressed because, I mean, unfortunately, my vision's not good enough where I could write on my phone, be able to see everything the way that I want. Plus the fact that I have really big thumbs, and it just makes it really hard to text.
Yeah, I've got big thumbs too. But The boyfriend was an over-the-road truck driver for most of the time we've been together, which as of May this year will be 29 years.
Wow, nice.
Oh,
Congrats.
So he's been Google. But he's been a truck driver for most of that time. Admittedly, he tried to do local as much as possible so that he could be with me and our child whenever possible. But there's been a couple of times where I got to ride along with him. And when you're in a big truck, you really do not have a whole lot of space for equipment.
Right.
And you really don't want to take a laptop with you, because laptops, if you have them in a big truck,
I can understand. You have big hands.
yes, it's not an easy thing to do. But laptops, if you take them with you and you turn them on while moving, it will destroy the hard drive because of the vibration of the truck. So we've had smartphones for a good bit of that time, and I have arthritis in my hands. I cannot physically write out everything that I would be writing.
Mm-hmm.
It hurts too much. So I found that if I used my phone and I took my time, it was easier. So I've been doing the writing on my phone thing at least since 2010, if not a little bit before then. And it just, like I said, it made it easier. And a lot of people didn't start actually playing around with the idea of using, a lot of people didn't actually start playing around with the idea of using their phones until more recently. So I would tell people I was writing on my phones and I would get odd looks. People would be like, "How?" Carefully.
I get odd looks all the time because I can do just about everything but this recording on my phone. Schedule post to just about any place, make graphics, write my stories, edit other people's stories, edit mine.
Yeah, I do the editing. Usually I do the editing here on the computer because it's just bigger screen. But
yeah, if I could hook my phone up to an LCD monitor and a keyboard, then I could use my phone for everything.
Well, I normally have a 10-inch tablet that sits beside me when I'm in the boyfriend's room that I work on over there. But right now my kid has snagged it. It's downstairs for when they are here. Because their TV broke, so the tablet's working as their TV. But normally that 10-inch screen does what I need to, or this phone. The only time I need the computer is if I'm going to be needing the webcam, and even then not always, because sometimes I can just go straight from my phone. It's just for some reason StreamYard doesn't like my phone. I get an echo. Or if I have a PDF that I need to deal with, then I'll come to the computer. Because for some reason, PDFs and phones do not work well together. But other than that, everything else can be done between phone and tablet, no issues.
And that has been like the easiest thing for me, doing it on my phone, because I can do that wherever I am and get stuff done.
Yeah. And you're not required to sit in one place all the time to do what you need to do. And that is one of the things that I've always loved about having it all on my phone. Boyfriend complains I'm on my phone too much. But like I said, I do a lot of work on it, so It's my writing device. It's my marketing device. It's my business device. Honestly, about the only time I sit at my computer is when I'm playing games or when I need to deal with PDF. So,
Do you have a story you've written that you wish would become a shared world with other authors?
That's a good question.
all of them.
Good
I
answer.
would-
Good answer.
I would love to see other authors pick up any of my stories and tell me their take on it, because to me, it's like a response poem. Okay. And I'll explain what that is before I continue. A response poem is if you take somebody's poem and write a response in poetry to that poem.
And we do this a lot together.
Mm-hmm. To me, that is the highest form of flattery. You're saying, I liked your words so much that I had to write my own in response to it. So, oh, hell yeah, that would be wonderful.
Yes.
To my idea, anyone who picks up the world that I have created, whatever world that is, and
That smells like a Fae Corps anthology theme right there.
That's what Ras just said.
Yeah. I'll have to consider that and do up a world build in Fae Corps for that. That's a couple of anthologies down the road, though, because I got ideas for I think it's 2028 is where my last ideas are for that.
Yes.
I have a list in Discord. Most of it's hidden.
Kyle's already working on the one for August. He's like, no, I'm jumping on this now.
Well, and that's the fun thing about the Fae Corps Discord. I always post when we do a anthology. As soon as I get to the point where I might actually, as soon as I get to the point where I'm actually working with the authors and I have everybody in their acceptance I have everybody in their acceptance spaces and such as that, I will post the call for the next one in the Discord. I do not post it anywhere else until, like, that's August. It'll probably be May before it's posted anywhere else. When the next, when this anthology releases is when I will post it everywhere else. That'll be the blog, Reddit, Facebook, and I have, I believe already, a video call to make sure that you get for the various spaces. But Killing Stroke is the next one. Then that's Killing Stroke. It's going to be the mind of the killer.
I'm already working on that one.
Yeah. In the call, I'd say I'm not looking for crime scenes because I'm afraid people are going to send me pictures of crime scenes, and I don't want that. But we're looking for the mind of the killer. We're looking for somebody who just isn't quite right. The mystery, the thriller of it. That last Killing Stroke. Then Into the Fae Woods is going to be the one for spring next year, and it's, remember, you everybody got confused about that one call I posted in the Discord about twisting on fairy tales, and they said it sounded like a Fae Corps thing. Well, Into the Fae Woods was my plan for that. That was supposed to be fairy tale twists.
Hmm.
And then Disaster's Edge is the fall one next year. I'm not going to tell more than just the titles because I don't want to put the call out way ahead for anybody. It's just, and then I have Of the Grove, Fortune's Failure, Silence and Shadows, and Whispers of the Asylum. That is the planned titles for the next few anthologies. So now I'm wondering what he wanted to try. Oh, the fairy tale thing. Well,
Yeah, now you got me curious too, because I'll have to see what I can come up with for it.
the fun thing is, Raz, you've got almost a year for that because that's the spring anthology next year. So, and that one, you know, it has potential for any genre. I love the ones that have potential on any genre because that I feel like the ones that are like Killing Stroke is kind of a limitation on genre. There's mystery, thriller, horror, and that's pretty much what that is. It can be any genre, but I don't see any of the others really working with it.
Dell already has a story written for this, the fairy tale one. Hi.
Hello.
Jason Sailor.
The topic is technically a release party, but we're just having fun and talking about everything.
It's the usual diversion into a padded cell that happens at release parties.
Nothing wrong with that. So, okay, I'll ask you another question then. I don't know if we've ever gone over this, but can you give us the history of how Fae Corps started?
It actually started with an anthology. There was 6 of us. The writing group that we were in had kind of developed cliques, like a high school mean girl kind of style clique. And some of us got uncomfortable with that. We wanted to get back to just the plain ordinary bit of let's write an anthology. So the 6 of us decided to do it. Well, when we did, the problem with it and publishing an anthology is you need to have somebody willing to do the editing. You need to have somebody willing to do the cover. You need to have somebody willing to do the publishing end of it. Okay. There's a whole lot that goes into an anthology more than just, oh, let's do the stories. There has to be the formatting. There has to be, all of the things that go into it. And it got discussed among the 6 of us, and me and Cindy, CM Snow, were the only ones willing to do the editing, and me and her were at the time incredibly close. We're still close, but we were more close then. We keep having these fights, and then we end up coming back together. It's long story there. But me and Cindy decided to do the editing and the publishing and all that. And we got to talking about it, and there needed to be a company name to publish under. And I suggested Fae Corps. I was thinking, a group of fairies, because we were all writing dark fairy stories. And everybody liked the idea. So me and Cindy founded Fae Corps. The last fight we had, me and Cindy, was bad enough that I was ready to walk away from Fae Corps and create my own publishing company outside of Fae Corps, because this is everything I've ever wanted to do. I have always wanted to do something along this lines, even if I didn't realize it at the time. And part of it is it allows me to help writers find their voice. A good bit of my life, I felt like I didn't have a voice. So this allows me the chance to help others find theirs. And with that, Cindy wasn't wanting Fae Corps. Cindy wanted to do the occasional editing, but I had been doing most of the actual behind-the-scenes publishing bit. So we decided that it would be better if I just took Fae Corps. And Cindy helps out. She does, currently she does the blog. I believe she helps Jenny sometimes with marketing images and such, posting them to social media. And she in general is my editor when I need one, which, everybody needs an editor. So, and it built from there. I think I've built a pretty good family, a nice community.
So did you know, or how did you know, or how did you learn to get started with publishing, to go from words on paper or in a doc format to a fully published printed book? How did you learn that process?
I've actually been doing it myself since 2010. I was self-publishing before Fae Corps came to be. That's part of the reason why when everybody decided that it needed to have, somebody behind the scenes, I stepped up. Fae Corps didn't come to be until 2020. I had already been doing this for 10 years. And as to how I learned, I kind of have had a fascination with publishing my whole life. I literally can put together a book from scratch. I know how to bind a book. If you went to Bucknell Elementary School in Alexandria, Virginia, if they still have it, there should be a little book, because they made all of us make little books. There should be a little book from when I was in elementary school that I made. And it was plastic bound and rather fun. But it's always been a special interest of mine. I did not, however, know that I could do it myself until 2010. That's when I learned about KDP, and I started with them. And then when I found that I was not liking Amazon and all of Amazon's policies, which I still don't, but Amazon has one of the largest traffic of any of the publishing sites, I started looking into other sites, and that's when I found Draft2Digital. Draft2Digital allowed me more access to other venues So I started using them for our links. I started using them for our print books. But then when COVID hit, I was getting reports back that the books that were coming out of there, the covers were printed half off. They were poorly made. They were bad quality. And I didn't like that. So I went back to Amazon and started doing their paperbacks. And I looked into how to publish on Barnes & Noble by themselves. Because that was the only thing that Draft to Digital Print had going for it, was I could publish both on Amazon and Barnes & Noble with one click. And I didn't see myself having any issues with Barnes & Noble, so I switched it. I go to both sites. I do it separately. I use Draft to Digital still for their links. I use it for the ebooks, but I do not use their print. I've avoided Ingram for several years because when I first started, they would charge you just to upload your book.
Oof.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not paying money up front for something that I'm doing free elsewhere. They, as of this past year, stopped doing that. So I've been dealing with Ingram slowly since, trying to get things up. Because they are slightly cheaper for the author copies, and they are another location. And with Ingram, I don't have to tell somebody, okay, you want an author copy, you have to tell me how much you want, send me your money, and we will go through this whole rigmarole. With Ingram, I can provide my authors a link. They can go and order what they want.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a much more smooth transition. I don't have to fight with it. It's done once I set up that link. The authors can order as many copies as they want or as few copies as they want. And I don't have to be there and be the middleman. I just have to get it set up in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like a lot of work with the litany of authors that you have on Fae Corps now. Who was the first person outside of CM Snow? Who was the first person that you picked up for Fae Corps?
Can we pause here and, since we're in the hour mark, do the ad break and come back to that question?
Absolutely. Yeah, that'd be great because I could use the restroom.
Okay. We'll see you guys back in just about 3 minutes.
Greetings and shabebans. We are the Retro Reductopus Cephala Podcast, a long-form bi-weekly show that celebrates all the things that made growing up awesome.
Yeah, that sounds good, but I don't know what all those words mean.
I think what Parasite seems trying to say is that on Retro Red Octopus, we explore a range of retro goodness, from toys, video games, and movies, to cartoons, and even snacks and school lunches.
Oh.
And we do it all with a positive spin, a slew of killer guests, and some very adult language.
And you know what else is cool?
No.
This crazy show is part of the Door King Podcast Network with new episodes every Tentacle Tuesday.
What's that?
And if waiting 2 weeks for a new episode gives you a sad, know that we drop bonus episodes all the time, like the off-format Crow's Nest and an interview series we call The Brig.
You can listen to Retro Red Octopus on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any app that's cool enough to carry the only show that celebrates all the things that make growing up awesome.
Welcome back. Now that our back teeth are no longer floating away, let's replay the question.
Time to refill the tank. Okay. So the question was, other than CM Snow, who was the first person that you brought on to Fae Corps, and when did Janie hop on and become your girl Friday?
To be honest, I'm not sure when Jenny joined us. I know it was on the last couple of years, but
2021, I decided I followed KT Cito over from an alternate publishing company. And then I think it was about 2 years ago now, I became part of like publishing part of adding stories.
yeah. I believe now, I'm not positive, but I believe the first author we had who did a single book with us was Bonnie Winslow Christ. Her Beneath a Raven's Wing. Then it wasn't long before Ashura Dacha joined us. And we got to publish the poetry of I can remember the name of the book, but
Was name of the
Beulah
book?
Beulah Vega. I can't remember how it was listed.
A Love Unrequited.
Yeah. She publishes her stories as one thing and her poetry is something else, and I can't remember which one's which, so I feel like I'm saying that wrong, but
the poetry is under the Beluga, but I don't know what the
Beulah.
stories are published under.
B something Vega. I can't remember her middle initial.
Oh, okay.
Her poetry is wonderful. Her stories are wonderful. She's been in a couple of the anthologies. And it's been a slow trickle up until the last few years. Ruanne Bradford White has been in several of the anthologies, and she liked what we did so well. She's like, I have a book. I want you to publish it. I'm like, we can do that. Raz was in one of the early anthologies, liked what we did so well. He's like, I'm going to write for all of them. I'm like, please? Well,
Yes,
his writing's just that good.
we love our Raz stories.
But I can't tell you exactly when each of them joined, but most of them have joined at one point or another because of the anthologies. Because Bonnie was in the anthologies before she decided to publish with us. So, and we have had a wonderful experience with various people in the anthologies coming back and helping and doing, and then some like you were brought in by Raz, and we did your book first, and then you started joining the anthologies, which was nice.
Well, I
So,
felt that doing the anthologies was a good way of at least keeping me writing and keeping me relevant while I worked on the next book.
and that works out really well. So
I came on just after haunt season in 2023, so it would have been late October, early November.
I try to do 2 anthologies a year. There's been a couple of years that I've done more than that, because the anthologies are very time intensive. Dell compared what I do to herding cats. I'm not sure she's wrong there, because
She's
sometimes
not,
the authors.
because you have any idea how crazy we are and the weirdness we bring into your life?
Well, there's been
Just
a couple of there's been a couple of authors who are no longer allowed to submit to Fae Corps because for all I do, they sit and yell at me, and I don't have the ability to deal with that. So
you shouldn't have to be the abusive sponge.
yeah. So they got kicked out of Fae Corps. There's not been many of those. My publishing file is very organized, and those authors in my indie author section are listed as publishing fails. And they're not publishing fails because they failed. They're publishing fails because I feel like I failed. Because I feel like I should have been able to figure out something to make their book stay out into the world, and I couldn't.
Well, there's been like one particular one. His book is still in the world. I see that he's still doing things, but also he can't. He didn't understand that you cannot control what Amazon is doing, and as you can see, that I'm still arguing with them about Fae Speaks.
Still? Good grief! I sent them
He
emails
put in an
too.
order. And I'm going to have to recall them next week because I'm not seeing anything. So I'm going to recall them. They took the money and not give me the book.
That is ridiculous because I've emailed them about it too. I'm like, there's, problem. My readers should be able to get the books that they buy. Why is this a problem?
Yeah. So. And I even told them that my kid is in that book. She wants the book so she can have the proof she was published. And it's like,
I'm sorry.
So, yeah.
No, it's your party. You can cry if you want to.
Yeah, I don't want you to think this is me blaming you. This is me telling them as viewers that even these publishing places like Amazon give us the runaround as well too, and I'm in it, she's in it, he's in it, my kid's in it, Raz is in it, and they're just not giving us our book.
Honestly, Amazon is terrible, and if I could do without them, I would. But like I said, they have the best traffic. Most of the royalties that I have seen come through have come through via Amazon. I am still waiting on a payment from them to pay out royalties for this past month, I've got Barnes and Noble sitting waiting because Barnes and Noble's paid out. But I have not received Amazon's payment yet, and it's annoying me because Amazon said, "Oh, we're going to pay you." Yeah, I'm still waiting. They sent me that email over a week ago. And if I don't get something soon, I'm going to be sending them a message going, "Where's my payment?" Because I need to pay my authors. And it's ridiculous. I shouldn't have to pester them about this. Their costs are ridiculous. Honestly, the whole thing is set up as a scam in a way. I mean, it really is. Because they're charging you to send out the ebooks. It does not cost that much to send that ebook out. But what can you do? There's not a whole lot of choice where that's concerned. And as a small business, I have even less choice than some of the bigger businesses, the ones that can do things in-house. So.
And we're doing pretty good for this Mickey Mouse organization.
Absolutely.
Yep, we just need to grow Fae Corps into one of the massive publishers.
I would love that.
We're trying. It's just they want you to add money in the weirdest places.
Yeah, I know. That's the economy we live in. And I did not think we'd be going down this road when I asked that question, so my apologies.
Yeah, questions tend to take us in weird places. Like, out of your new collection of stories, which character do you want to go sit and have a drink with and talk to?
Oh, that's actually an easy one. The fairy prince from Becoming.
I want to do that too.
Don't we all?
I actually, in that story, put Fae Corps as his job because I was trying to put the, hey, this is a shout out to my own company, and
you fourth walled us.
Yeah, it didn't. It turned out to be rather fun.
So that explains a lot. So it's not just you that is actually the head of Fae Corps. Is you're actually working for a fairy prince that none of us have ever seen or met. That's what's actually happening here.
Gotta have some fun somewhere.
I see how it is. You're holding out on us. You're holding out on us. That's
we
what
all
it is.
know what the book world think about fairy princes.
Well, yeah.
Dude, if you could pick a topic that collectively the 5 authors of us here in either in chat or with you in this room could write about, what would you want us to write about as a topic?
Considering,
yeah, I'm curious about this.
Considering the writers in question, I think I would want ghost stories.
Oh my god, that one I can do, and I can give that to you in the next newsletter. because I've already got it planned out in my head.
I could see every single one of the authors in question managing a wonderful ghost story and it not be even that hard. It would be something that they could just, here it is.
Dude, I'll put in the next one.
I've got a few for you right here.
Yeah.
Have you seen my book?
Yes.
Yeah,
I read everything in it before it was published.
I need to make the little videos for your book.
No, for something like that though, I would write a whole new story because that's how I roll. I'm not gonna redo the same thing over and over again. It's gonna be something completely different.
And that's part of the fun. You would want to write a whole new story every time because it would be fun.
Oh yeah.
Okay, Pile, Tom Dog, Raz, Ron, Ghost Story. New plan for the future.
Okay, so let's delve into this a little bit. Let's explore this topic. Is there a way that we can do this ghost story thing with the world building that Raz mentioned earlier? That we talked about.
The Difference Engine apartment complex.
Different. Ooh, that reminds me of a podcast. Wasn't there a podcast like that?
I know there was a anthology.
What am I thinking? And then they made a series out of it. Oh, gosh, Raz would probably know. He'd probably know it off the top of his head.
Yeah, I love Raz's brain.
Yeah, Raz's brain's wonderful.
But we love the name of it. We love you, Serena.
Thank you.
That's the whole reason we're here. It's the Serena show, and we end up going everywhere.
But see, I like that. To me, that means that you guys are with me because I go everywhere naturally. It's just the way my brain works. So
you saw what I was doing this last night in the middle of the night. You received it. And you're probably like, what?
Yeah, actually, that was the nice part of waking up this morning. Like I said, it's been a rough couple of days. So.
Oh, yeah. But it was in the middle of the night when you answered me. So I know you were like having not the best night.
For me, sleep is an oddity. I'm doing better these days. I'm getting more than I used to, but I've never been a heavy sleeper. I used to sleep 3 hours a night. Now I get about 5 to 6. So, but they changed my meds to allow that. So that, and when I'm sick is the only time I sleep any more than that. If I'm sick, I'll sleep 18 without thinking. But when I'm not sick, 3 to 6 is the max a night. And I'm up at weird hours anyway. It's not uncommon for me not to go to bed till 4 a.m.
Understandable.
Nice thing about my job is I don't have to be on any specific schedule. As long as I get the stuff done, it's not going to matter when I do it.
I'm on whatever schedule Dante ends up on. And we homeschool, so nothing's like on like anybody else's set schedule. It's on ours.
Which with a neurodivergent household helps.
Oh my gosh. Having this many autistic people in a house, and I've realized something. I have to think explaining it to Amelia Bedelia sometimes. I'm like, I have to explain this to Amelia Bedelia to get them to understand. Okay, let's try again.
Well, it's just like, I did not realize that, most people figure out phone etiquette by, just being on the phone. I didn't actually teach my child phone etiquette, and I felt bad about it today because my child put me on hold without telling me that they were putting me on hold, and it pissed off her dad because it was like, he's sitting there talking to the phone and nobody was there. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, I forgot to tell Angel that you're supposed to announce when you're going to put somebody on hold. And it was not something I thought about, because it is something you generally learn.
Yeah.
But an autistic brain does not always learn things the same way.
Mm-mm.
And so I told Angel, I said, when you get another call, you have to announce, I'm putting you on hold because there is a call coming in. Oh, Mom, I didn't know that. I felt bad. I should have taught them that.
Dude, the hard part is when you've tried to teach them something, but you have to find 15 different ways to teach it until it sticks. It's like, I thought we had taking a sheet pan out of the oven down. No. And then two autistic people tried to do it together, and I end up with pork chops on the floor, and I'm like, I thought we had this down.
Yeah.
It is down. It's down on the floor.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I thought we had learned this process.
Well, and the funny thing is, a lot of the autistic traits that I have, I've learned to suppress because they weren't allowed. My family was like, get over it. And I was expected to get over it. That's not something I can do with my child. My child is incredibly stubborn.
We were not autistic. We were weird, and we were reprimanded for it.
Exactly. And
what's bad is when you have the autistic man or the ADHD man explaining to you that your particular neurodivergence is missing where they're neurodivergent, and you need to stop it.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I didn't even figure out what was my weirdness until I had an autistic child. And I didn't even know that they were autistic until they were almost grown, because all I knew is loud noises would set them into a meltdown. And they had speech issues, which I also had as a child. And there was just little bits and pieces that were them. They had to have certain stimulations. They had to have music all the time. They had to, this, that, and the other that was them. And I understood that. And it was fine. Okay, so they're weird. It's not a big deal. You be weird. It's one of the reasons why I liked Monster High when they were young, because the theme for Monster High was be unique, be a monster. In other words, be yourself. That was the whole thing. And I loved that.
That is our theme.
Yes. Because I was so unique was my word when I was a kid. I was unique. There was nobody out there like me.
Nope.
But
I'm grateful we found you.
And it was something that I didn't understand, but I knew that it was true. My family was not too awful happy with it. I was the weirdo, and that's fine. And it wasn't until my child was diagnosed with autism. And the funny thing is, the original diagnosis, they were like, how do I know that's real? Is that real? And I'm like, yeah, baby, that's real. And so they go in for an official test to, because it was a therapist that diagnosed them the first time. They went in for an official test to try and deal with doctors and such. And they ended up talking their way into the diagnosis. They were sitting there telling the person giving the test, all of their special interests and all of what was going on in their head. And the person's like, "You're autistic."
Mhm.
And she's like, "Are you sure?" Yeah. So it combine that with the stubborn nature, and there is a whole lot of things that it took me forever to learn. And I don't have the stubborn nature that my child does. I would, okay, I'm hungry enough. I will eat even if this texture in food is miserable for me.
The
And
difference between you and her are the thingies we've talked about. You have given her things that you did not have.
yeah,
Which makes you amazing.
sometimes it doesn't feel like that, I'll tell you.
But I can see it on this end. You're giving her, after everything I've read, you're giving, well, I should say them. You're
Yeah.
giving them a
I keep
better,
messing up the pronouns because of situational.
the age. When you're talking about that point in their life, they were the her. Right
Yeah.
now, they're the them. And the them was giving opportunities by both you and your wonderful boyfriend that you did not have when you were younger. So therefore, they are allowed to be the weird and not be the reprimanded child who is afraid to be themselves.
Exactly.
I'm kind of curious about something, since you bring up autism and ADHD and all of that, and you say that you have been diagnosed with autism.
Actually, I haven't. I believe I'm autistic. I have been diagnosed with, it's shortened to DID. It's they used to call it multiple personalities. Now it's
Dissociative identity disorder.
Yep.
So I'm curious if you feel like you think you have autism or DID. Do you think this benefits your writing or your creativity? Or if you didn't have it, would you still be as creative and as prolific as you are as a writer?
I am who I am, regardless of what disorder or brain mutation or whatever I have. That will never change. I am who I am. DID was a trauma response. I have been dissociating since I was 13. That is why I cannot get an autism diagnosis, because it is a neurodivergence regardless. And I actually do have it under control for the most part. I only dissociate now if I get into a really bad situation. And that's another thing that slows me down, because not everybody in my head are writers. Sometimes I'm 3 years old and all I want to do is color. Sometimes I'm 8 years old and I have a stutter and want to make everything calm. There is a whole lot that goes into that. Do I think that I would be the same person without all of that? I don't know. I don't want to know. Because regardless of whether I would be better off without it or not, everything that I have gone through, everything that I have seen and done came together to make me who I am. It has given 3 wonderful individuals life. I have 3 children, in case that was not a clarity thing. And I would not trade the world for them. They are absolutely amazing people. My eldest is a very strong mechanic with 2 children. He writes rarely. He has a wonderful brain about him when he uses it. And I do state that because the boy has moments when even he will admit that he's not entirely bright about what he does. My middle child is a poet. I didn't even think that poetry was possible to pass down through the genes, but he's quite the poet, and he's a good poet, and he's a good man. As a matter of fact, I published him. NK0 is my middle child. So both of the books that he's put out, and he's working on a third one currently. I thought that
I'm
might
so
make
happy.
Jenny happy.
Please tell him I'm so happy he didn't give up. Please tell him I'm so grateful he didn't give up.
Yes,
And if you decide to watch it in K0, thank you for continuing. I appreciate it.
Yeah, he sent me one of the poems in the book he's working on, and it is amazing. So, the third one, while yes, they are a more troublesome one in some ways because of their own neurodivergence, they are also my closest friend. They are everything I've ever wanted in this life. I created an individual who is strong-willed, who knows what they want out of life, who is very good with animals, who can tell you anything about any SCP or creepypasta ever.
So Raz is your kid? Oh, okay.
No, but Raz has gotten along with my kid on a couple of occasions.
Oh, we just adopted Raz into being our brother, and that's just about it. He's adopted.
Yeah,
and then
pretty
he said,
much.
okay, we're adopting these people too. So that's
Yeah.
why you're here, and Kyle, and Steven.
And it works for me.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you use your diagnoses as like some kind of superpower to fuel your writing.
I don't
Yeah,
use my diagnoses, but I do use my experience.
She
Everything
doesn't use the words per se, but how it works in her head with everything that is happening gives us such beautiful things.
Everything that I have been through flavors what I write. Everything that I have been through comes out in who I am. But do I use the diagnosis itself? No, because that in itself isn't who I am. That is only a piece of it. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Makes a lot of sense. Do you think in pictures or words or a combination of both?
Words.
Not
I've
images?
always thought in words. Then again, I don't remember learning to read. Fun story. My grandmother, when I first entered first grade, I did not know how to make friends. I was never good at social things. I've always been an introvert. I've always had issues making friends. My grandmother saw this and she handed me a book, knowing that I could read it at the time, and said, if you cannot make friends, here is your friends. That book was The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgins Burnett. That book should not have been something that I could read at first grade. Entering first grade. Yes.
It literally has my name in it. Hence why I bought it. It had my name in it before I bought it. But yeah, I agree. We need it. It makes us, yeah.
But there was no reason why I should have been able to read that in the first grade. That first grade, you're supposed to be learning to read. But I already was reading chapter books then. I don't remember learning to read. I just was.
Does anybody really remember learning to read unless it was something that they did later on in life?
I don't know.
I don't remember learning to read either. I just know that I've always been reading. I don't remember learning the alphabet. I mean, I guess. When do you start learning the alphabet? You know, like do you start learning
usually.
before you go, and like even they got pre-K, you're at least recognizing shapes. At what point do you put 2 and 2 together and you recognize this is a specific letter and it makes this particular sound? Does anybody really remember ever doing that?
Some people do.
I don't.
My boyfriend does. He remembers learning to read. Then again, he doesn't retain what he reads. He has to use audiobooks to retain it. So, but I was reading college level books like War and Peace and Dante's Inferno and such as that in the 4th grade. There was never a time when I didn't read well above what I should have. It just that was who I was. There was always a book in my hands.
What?
I was teacher's aide in high school because the work they were giving me I'd have done 5 minutes into class, so they had to keep me busy.
What book would you suggest us read of all the books you enjoyed most?
You know, if you haven't read books by Jacqueline Carey, I would recommend any of hers. They're amazing. Her she has 2 different series. One of them is a series about this world that's built on angel lore. The world was designed by an angel, basically. You know, an angel walked through and his children are what's left in it. At least in this one area, this one specific region. And so they're all like angel descendants in this one region, and it is an amazingly well-written book. It does have a bit of heat to it, so if you don't like romance, you might want to avoid it. It's not necessarily a romance book, but it does have heat to it in some of the descriptions. They are but that series, there's like 9 books in it, and it is an extremely good series. The other one has 2 books that I know of, and the main character is a warrior of the goddess Hel. And it's a wonderful series as well. I absolutely adore both of those series. I think they are worth the read. They have a lot of description. They have a lot of character development. The first 3 books in the Angel series is one character. The next 3 is her son, and then the last 3 is his child, I think. And it's an incredible series. It really is all the way through. High magic, wonderful storytelling. The other book that I would recommend is one I read in high school, and it's one of the reasons why I disliked the last 3 Star Wars movies. They didn't follow the script as far as I was concerned.
That's because you had 3 different people writing the story.
But the book was oh God, I need to look it up now. I remember the book, but I cannot remember the name of it off the top of my head. It had Admiral Thrawn in it. And it was more than one book. It was a series.
In the Star Wars universe?
Mm-hmm. And this was back in the 90s, I want to say. Because I graduated in 93, 94 range. So let's see. Come on, you stupid thing.
That's okay. Mine's going slow too.
Mine's trying to crash, and I won't let it.
Understandable.
It's the Thrawn trilogy by Timothy Zahn.
Anything Timothy Zahn writes is good.
Yeah. I also actually recommend the Lost Boys by Orson Scott Card. And that one, Orson Scott Card wrote the Ender series, which wasn't a bad series. It was a good sci-fi series. But the problem was he got known for that particular series. And he wrote more than that. The Lost Boys is an amazing ghost story. It's one of those that you pick it up not realizing what it is. You're going to be expecting something like his Ender series. But he had this great little mystery. You were looking for the killer, and it had such a nice twist in it. And this is what I was reading in high school for fun.
This does not surprise me.
And
not at all.
I was reading Stephen King in high school, and people are like, well, you should have watched what your kid read. No. Why should I watch what my kid reads? Nobody told me what I could read. I just told her that, this is a book. There's nothing real in this book. This is fiction. I taught her the difference. I did watch what she watched on TV because I did not want, before she was ready, her watching sex scenes on TV. We didn't have, when my child was little, we didn't have cable because I did not want commercials to be thrown in my child's face and me having to explain why we weren't buying this thing or that thing because we couldn't afford it. I felt like that was reasonable. I wanted to know what my child was watching at any given time. I controlled that by making sure that what she watched was DVDs or VHS at one point, because that's what we had. Or we would watch as a family something that was streamed. It was not something that she was watching without my knowledge, because I felt like that was important. The only time that she watched something that I disagreed with, she was 2 years old when Joe showed her the original Night of the Living Dead. She was sitting there laughing at the zombies. She thought they were funny.
Yeah, that,
You mean
that
they're
sounds
not?
about right.
But I disagreed with it because I felt like Night was a little much for a 2-year-old. But
The original Night of the Living Dead, I don't think so, because it was done back in the 50s. It's still black and white, so I don't. It wasn't as graphic as some of the later versions of I can't
Night
think
of the
of his name
Living
now.
Dead and
Yeah.
Living Dead.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of the guy that did Night of the Living Dead.
George A. Romero,
Yeah, Jesus, why couldn't I think of his name?
the father of all zombie movies.
Right? I just had a brain fart, and his name completely slipped my mind. There's been a lot of other movies in that same vein as Romero's Zombies, if not technically in the same universe as Romero's Zombies. Because you got Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead,
Day was
Return of the Living
definitely
Dead,
bad.
and then I think even Return of the Living Dead has a whole damn series
It does.
itself. So
My
it's like
favorite was number 3. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, me too, actually.
City of the Dead, Army of the Dead, This is the Dead, That of the Dead,
Now there was
Simon's
one,
Cat of
and
the Dead.
I don't remember what the name of it was, but there was one that me and Joe watched while over the road that it was nothing but gore for the sake of gore, and even Joe's like, I can't watch this. It's too much. But most zombie movies are fine. I just did not think my child was ready for zombie movies at 2 years old.
But 2 years old is so young. She's probably not even going to remember it as, in formative years until she starts to watch it later and it seems vaguely familiar to her. And at that point, it probably won't have any effect on her.
It actually did have an effect because my child, one of their special interests is zombies. Everything zombies, everything horror. But it had the effect of, this is something fun, not the effect I was expecting of scaring her, which
Yeah. She
I'm
attributes it
grateful
to
for.
a good time in her life. So,
Yeah.
That's always the best case scenario, I think. I kind of had this affinity for Dracula when I saw the original with Bela Lugosi.
Oh, I love Bela Lugosi.
And to me, he is the epitome of Dracula. I mean, I know that there have been other people to play Dracula over the years, with like Christopher Lee and Richard. Who am I thinking? Ron Tant's guy did the suntan commercials.
I think
Love at First Bite. What the hell is his name? George Hamilton. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have played, and they've done convincing jobs, even with Gary Oldman and all of that. They've done convincing jobs of playing Dracula, but I don't think any of them really had like just the whole charm and the vibe that Bela Lugosi brought to it. Like
there's also something to be said for the old black and white movies.
Yeah, exactly.
If you have not seen it, I would highly recommend. There's a movie from I think it was 1944, called The Uninvited. It's not the new one, not the Korean one. That's not the one I'm talking about. This was 1940 something, called The Uninvited. It's a lovely black and white ghost story.
I think we have the criterion of that.
that is one that I would recommend anybody watch. It's a really sweet movie. And it's got the touches of horror that make a good story.
Now I'm curious.
I forget where we found it, but I know we found it on one of the streaming services so I could show it to my child, but I can't remember which one it was. My grandmother introduced me to that. There was a lot of, my grandmother was a storyteller at heart, and there was a lot of what she introduced me to that helped formulate who I am, honestly. Because she would introduce me to some of the most random things, and I would see them as being this grand story that needed to be told. And honestly, she's a lot of who molded me into who I am. She would tell some of the most outrageous stories, and you always wondered whether she was making them up or whether they were real. She always worked as a secretary because that was just what she could do. She typed incredibly fast. And she did not have the ability to move around a whole lot. Oh, sorry.
It's poltergeist.
No, my phone fell over.
Yeah, no. Poltergeist knocked it over.
Anyway, so she did not have the ability to move around a whole lot. She had broken her back 3 times and had to have it fused 5. So moving was painful for her. So she always worked somewhere as a receptionist or secretary just because it was a job that she could sit to do. And when she would tell these stories, it would be just, this is what happened while I was on the job, or, you know, what have you. And I thought that was so much fun. One of her stories, and I tell this one whenever I'm introducing people to her stories because it's I think the most fun. She was working as a check-in clerk for an ER. And they brought this gentleman in from a car accident. Well, the gentleman was not conscious when they brought him in. And they get him in, and he wakes up and looks around. Where's Bill? You know, he's obviously drunk. Well, they go back out, search around the accident site, they find Bill. Bring him in. 2 of them get together. 2 of them look at each other. Where's Tom? Okay, how many of them, how many of you are there? The cops asked. And it turns out there was 5 of them. Okay, they go out and find the other 3 guys. Get everybody together. And apparently the reason that the car hit the tree was because all 5 of them were in the back seat asleep when the car accident happened.
So who was driving?
Exactly. There was nobody driving according to the 5 of them. They were all in the back seat asleep at the time.
Yeah, all 5 in the back seat. All 5 people going to fit in a back seat. Somebody.
And they were all drunk as hell. So
somebody wasn't telling the full story.
Then, now mind you, my grandmother lived most of her life in DC. Okay. So when she wasn't in DC, she was either in Florida or in Michigan. The next story was a quick one that was in DC. She was working again as a receptionist check-in clerk at a ER, and this guy comes in complaining about a backache. He says, he'd been out jogging, and suddenly his back started killing him. And he said that he felt weak. So she went and got him a wheelchair, pulls it around behind him to take him into the back after checking him in. And sticking out of his back was the handle of a large butcher knife. My grandmother said, I didn't tell that man that. I wheeled him to the back and let the doctors deal with that. And I can't say I blamed her.
That's just spine chilling.
My grandmother had many, many tales like that. And she would pull them out randomly. This would be, I'd come home from school and, just sit there and watch TV with her, and she'd be like, oh, did you know about this? Or, oh, did you know about that? And I can tell you every single one of her tales. She told them over and over again because that was who she was. That was what she was. She was a storyteller at heart.
Have you written them down?
Most of them. The Grandmother's Wisdom anthology has the majority of them. There's been a few that I think I missed in that one, but not many. She was definitely an amazing woman, and her stories were, I don't know if they were fiction or not. We never did figure that out. They were fun, and that was always something. That was something that I think all stories should be. And
Do you
like I
think
said,
she was an influence on why you're a writer now?
I do. I think that she's a lot of the influence on who I am today. Her politics are my politics. A lot of the way she felt about the world around her makes perfect sense to me. So, and I'm not saying that because, oh, this was my grandmother, I have to have the same politics as she. No. What she said always made sense. And it was something that, I don't know, I cannot see somebody not believing the same way she did. I understand there are people who don't, but I don't understand why. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
Yes.
So I ended up growing up with her as this is who I want to be. Everybody has to have someone that they go, this is what I want to be like. Or they have somebody that this is what I don't want to be like.
Yeah.
I had both. I had this is what I want to be and this is what I don't want to be. And I am very grateful for that because that gave me the ability to be me and understand where I wanted to go in life.
Oh, yeah.
All right. We are moving beyond the 11 o'clock hour. I have one more question, and then I'm going to call it a night, and y'all can continue your little release party.
Well, then, when you asked your question, I have 2 questions for you before you leave.
Okay. So, I got curious just a couple minutes ago and wondering about what books are the longest or have the most words? Which books have the most words? And I found a list. In terms of word count, In Search of Lost Time, with over 1.5 million words, holds the Guinness World Record of the longest novel. Some other ones listed are Marion Bide My Love by Mark Leach. This book is known for its extensive length with a word count of 2.5 million words. The Tale of Genji by Murasaki Shikabu, 750,000. War and Peace by Tolstoy, 561,304. Les Miserables by Victor Hugo, 568,751. Atlas Shrugged, The Stand, 514,827. Miss of Avalon, Marion Zimmer Bradley, Gone with the Wind, so on and so forth. So, what is the longest thing you have ever written, and what do you think the secret is for achieving that kind of word count?
The longest thing I have ever written has to be Rust and the Junkyard Zombie. And the secret with that one was simple. That's how long it took to tell that story. Like I said at the beginning, I expect every story that I'm going to tell to be a novel. I expect it to. And then I'll get to a certain point and go, but the story's done. Should I have been able to write more? And it feels like I should, because, you know, there are people that put out multiple novels in a year without thought. But realistically, some of those novels are not stories that I would tell. Those stories are not mine to tell. The story that I told in Rust, Gore, and the Junkyard Zombie was mine to tell. It was a game that me and Joe had played. I had to convert it to be able to make it into a story, make it into a novel. So there's details that I had to add to make it work. And even that, I don't think I made it more than like 40,000. Might be 45, somewhere in there. But it wasn't, you know, a real huge book. It was the word count it needed to tell the story. And sometimes that has to be what I have to be happy with. It has to be the word count needed to tell the story. If I'm worried about word count, I won't tell the story right. I won't get the story where it needs to be. However, if I get the story where it needs to be, and it's got the word count I was basically looking for, then usually I'm happy. And sometimes, like with Heat and Ice, it was when I first submitted it, it was probably about 500 words too short for their minimum. I submitted it anyway. And I tell people, if I put a word count minimum down for Fae Corps and your story doesn't quite make it, or a maximum and your story goes over, submit it anyway. Because sometimes editing will change your word count. Not always, but sometimes. And sometimes, like say, in the newest anthology, Onward Adventures, or Onward's Adventure, your story was slightly above the maximum. Editing did not, by my hand, change that much. Okay? But here's the thing. At least one of the stories that I received was less than the minimum. So it evens out to make a fairly well laid out book, because those minimums and maximums even out in the long run. But what I did is I submitted anyway, even though my story wasn't quite up to the minimum, because I was thinking it will probably get fixed in the editing. Thankfully, Fractured Mind Publishing was using Lily Lachuse, I think that's how her name's pronounced, as the
I'm not
editor.
sure.
And I'm not sure either, but and how it looks like it would be pronounced. If I'm pronouncing it wrong, I apologize. And she gave me a suggestion that fixed it to be within the word count range it needed to be. And it improved the story. If her suggestion hadn't improved the story, I wouldn't have been able to fix it to be within that range. It wouldn't have made a difference to me what the word count was. I care more about the story than I do the number. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I do too.
Makes sense. Yeah, I aspire to be able to try to write a novel that is of, verbose word count. I'd like to hit those 500, 600,000 word counts, but I've only ever delved in short stories, and I think the longest thing I've ever written, has been 30, 35,000 words at this point. So
That's a novella, so.
And, I want to expand writing longer form stories and, trying to figure out what I need to do in order to do that. And I think a lot of it's going to come from building the world and developing the characters out beyond just these two-dimensional characters that I write in the short stories.
Well, and that's part of it too. You need to actually take the time to do some world building if that's what you're wanting to do. In the Discord, there is a section, and I published this as Patricia. I added a few things to it, but the book is listed as keep the magic in your writing, but a good bit of the information in that is in the Discord under, I think it's writing classes or something like that. But it talks about world building. It talks about what questions you should be asking to do the world building. I think in the book I also added character building, which I don't know if it's in there or not. If it's not, I need to add it because that's something useful. But the reason is a lot of writers don't actually know how to do world building. I get it from gaming. I've been a DM since 3rd edition D&D came out. And as a DM, you have to world build. That's a requirement. If your players are going to have fun at all, you have to build them a world that's worth playing in. And I've built several. But that, again, goes back to asking the right questions. What makes this world different? Why is it different? What makes this character different? What makes this character fit into this story? And it doesn't always have to be something you tell the reader. Just because you world build doesn't mean you have to put it in your story. The world building is for you. What you put in your story, well, that is what makes the story good. But D&D character sheets work great for character building and stories.
Well, I appreciate that. And with that, I'm going to get off of here, but you have 2 questions for me, and I suspect one is, where do we find you?
Yes, that's the second question. First question. What book do you recommend our viewers reading? I mean, other than the one you wrote. They all know we recommend Inside My Nightmares. They probably figured that one out.
It's a good book, so I highly recommend it.
That's why I keep sharing it.
Are we talking Fae Corps books or just any books in general?
We're talking out of all the books in the entire world. What
Jesus.
book makes Ron happy and other people should read?
What books make Ron happy and other people should read? Those are almost 2 different questions. So let's start with books other people should read. And I'm doing this strictly as an author trying to help a fellow author out. I have an associate. His name is Rami Unger. I have mentioned him before. He has done some indie publishing, but he's also published under a couple of other publishing companies as well. He's got a few books out. The Pure World Comes is one of them. Rose is another. He's got a few things that have been narrated on Audible. Rose and Pure World Comes are 2 of them. He's got quite a few other books as well, and he's a unique author with some of his ideas, and I think that he's got a good grasp on world building and character development, especially in the Pure World Comes, which I think is just one of his best books so far. And I can't say I've read everything that he's written, but I've read a good majority of it. I support Rami a lot in his writing. Pure World Comes, it's based in London, England, around the same time as Jack the Ripper is happening in Whitechapel, England, in the 1800s. And I know from following his post that he did a lot of historical research in order to make this book accurate. But the whole premise of the book is just absolutely incredible, and I love it. And I just thought it was a great story through and through. So if you get the opportunity to read Pure World Comes by Rami Unger, that is one that I would recommend. And that's me plugging a fellow author because I would like to see him succeed as well. As far as books that make Ron happy that I would recommend for people to read, then I'm going to have to go with my guy, Drew Hayes. He has his own publishing company now called Thunderpair, but he used to publish under a different publishing company. He's got several series, and boy, is he prolific because he publishes several books a year. And you can find out everything that he's got on the burner to be published on his website, which drewhayes.com, I think it is, something like that. Or Drew Hayes, the writer, or something. He's got several series: Fred the Vampire Accountant, Sword Spells and Stealth, 5-Minute Sherlock. He's got, let me see, Superpowers, Villain's Code. All of these are series. And he's doing a small series of short stories for youth or young adults, which is called Rover Powered, about a dog who swallows a piece of magical essence, and the dog becomes extremely powerful. And that he's got a whole world that he's building within that one. And there are 2 volumes out in that one now, and they're a little bit shorter than his normal books. Superpowers was extremely long. Fred the Vampire Accountant, he's about to publish the 9th book, and it will be the last one in the series. So if you like that kind of stuff, superheroes, supervillains, magic, action, world building, comedy, adventure, you got to check out Drew Hayes, because he's got a little bit of everything, and he's so good. It's just that's the kind of books that make me happy. So that's what I would recommend. And he's got a lot of material to choose from. So good luck covering his whole catalog. So yeah, those would be my recommendations. Rami Unger and Drew Hayes.
Now, where do you want people to find you?
I'm still on my hiatus from Facebook. I check it periodically, but I'm not spending any great deal of time on there. I'm not quite, cold turkey on it, but I've definitely stopped using it as much as I used to. So just find me on the author page, Ronald W. Gillespie Jr. -author on Facebook. If you message that, it'll go to Jenny, and she can probably answer questions for you or send them to me. I'm still on TikTok for as long as it lasts. The ban, I think, goes into effect again on April 5th, so we'll see what happens with that. But until then, you can find me on TikTok under @WolfDojo. Wolf is spelled with a U, WULFDOJO. And other than that, check with my girl Friday over here. Which side are you on? There you are. Okay.
I'll help you find his newest story in the newest Onward Adventure.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one he's in, but I know he's in one of them.
I know he's in the one I'm in.
Then it's Fantastic Tales.
Yeah.
Because I still have yours up.
Fantastic Tales.
I still have yours up on my dash to edit, because I forgot to. I send anybody that actually sends me something in a different way other than email. I send it from my personal account to Fae Corps account to make sure that it's there when I go through things, so I have it all together. I forgot to do that with Jenny's story because she sent it to me via Messenger. And
that's because Google told me where to go and how to get there, and I said, fine. After 6 times, I know how to get it to her.
Yeah. And I don't, if somebody sends me something other than email, I'm not going to tell them, no, you can't do this. If it's somebody that has worked with me before. If it's somebody new, I'm likely not to see it because I don't have them on Messenger, or I don't have them on, whatever. But I normally, like I said, if somebody sends me something that way, I send it to from my personal account to Fae Corps so that it's there. I forgot to do that this time. So I did all the edits yesterday that were in the email. And then I'm talking to Jenny this morning. I'm like, oh, crap.
And I thought Google told me where to go and how to get there. And I was going to, tomorrow, I was going to be like, Google said, no, I'm not allowed to have the email. Will you please resend?
Well, for anybody interested, my story in the upcoming Onward Adventure is called Orc Training Camp, and it is heavily inspired by the game EverQuest. So if you like massively multiplayer online role-playing games, if that's your bag, then you might like Orc Training Camp. So check it out.
It's a really good story, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you can thank my mom for that, because she made some suggestions which I implemented, and yes, I do believe it made the story better.
And please, again, for the second year in a row at this time of month. Tell your mom we say thank you for being there.
Thank you for being there, Mom.
You'll have to message her for us if you don't mind, because yeah, we told her on the 24-hour special before as well.
Yep, she's my biggest fan, without
That's
a doubt.
always good. That is always good.
And with that, I'm gonna call it a night. It's past 11:30, so I gotta be up early. You ladies have a wonderful evening, and I shall see you next time.
Thank you for coming.
You're very welcome.
Thanks for
Thank
being
you for
my
having me.
co-host.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me. Good night.
Good night.
Bye. So, do we want to keep going or give up?
I think we've had a long enough episode for this, don't you?
Dude, it's 2 hours and 25 minutes. Yes. So where do you want people to find you?
Well, I believe you put my link tree in the wherever it is. Yeah.
Links are where in the immortal words of N.J. Sullivan. If you haven't figured out, I love N.J. Sullivan, and I love his amazing wife, Celosia Crane.
Yeah, his
and the
wife
immortal words of N.J. Sullivan, links are where links go. So,
exactly.
And go find Celosia Crane and N.J. Sullivan and read all of their stuff and listen to all of their stuff.
And if you haven't already, go buy the Monster I Love anthology. I'm in it with one of the stories that's in this book, but I tell you what, it's got some really good stories otherwise. The other authors are amazing. So I would recommend it highly.
I lost the picture, but I've been putting it in places.
Yeah. I waited until after theirs came out before I said anything about it being in this, because I didn't want to take away the thunder, but it does acknowledge in this book, Fractured Mind, and it has all the information on how to find them as well. The other stories are all Fae Corps, except for I think I had like a rejected story that I had sent in to somebody and they'd rejected it. I'm not going to call out the anthology I tried to get in with that one because that seems petty. The story has its moment, and that's all I needed to do. So, but yeah, all of my links are in my link tree, because whatever I've forgotten to add, my girl Friday has, or whichever way. I can't figure out which way.
I tried very hard to make sure you guys could use the link tree to find everything she's in. I only had to add like a couple of links that she missed because there was new stuff that happened.
I hadn't used the link tree in a while, and it was decided that I had too many links by whatever Facebook or YouTube. So
yeah, Facebook has given us a limit on links. We cannot add more than 10 links, but I'm like, but you must find all of Patricia and Serena's stuff. Hence Linktree, because she's got a decent length of links, nearly a page long, just stacked right in under each other. So yeah.
And if you're more interested in Patricia's stuff, which is either writing based, poetry, or kids books, you can find her on all the sites at Patty Mouse. So, it's possible to find either of us. We're both the same, but it's possible to find either of us. I set up the social medias to a specific username so that it was easy to find. I felt like that was the best way to do it.
One of them is the name of one of my most favorite Tooth Fairy movies.
Oh?
Serenity Falls.
I didn't realize that was a Tooth Fairy movie.
Yeah, it's great.
I chose it because the Serena, I was thinking, Serenity, and since I'm writing horror or dark fantasy, The Fall of Serenity. That was the logic in my head when I set that up.
And it's awesome. But also, Tooth Fairy horror movies. They exist. I have found one.
Like I said, I don't watch a whole lot of TV. A lot of what I know about is stuff that I watched when I was younger.
What is a movie that you would recommend? Out of all the movies you've watched, which one?
Other than the 1940s version of The Uninvited, I've always loved Legend. I've always loved The Princess Bride. Those were always favorites of mine. I have a serious addiction to the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I'm not sure if it was the acting behind Freddy Krueger or if it was Johnny Depp as a teenager.
I don't know, but my husband got them for me, and I'm grateful.
But that was one of my favorites for a long time. Anime, I can recommend half a dozen different ones, but that, again, that depends on your style and personality, you know? Vampire Hunter D is always a good one.
Spy X Family that you recommended is even recommended by my children.
I do have a movie that I would not recommend, that I would tell everybody is horrible. It slogs. 7 Days in Tibet. It is the longest 2 hours you will ever sit. And I mean that wholeheartedly. That movie was the most boring thing I have ever sat through. But a half decent World War II-ish movie that my grandmother introduced me to was The Boys from Brazil. It's kind of a almost documentary style movie, but it was about those that escaped Berlin after the war that ran to Brazil, and it was kind of a spy army twist thing. It was not a bad movie. It was a half decent one.
Awesome.
It, like I said, it depends on what you're into. I probably know a movie for every genre, because that's what I did with my grandmother when I would visit her, because she was not able to move around a lot. We sat and watched TV a lot, or we listened to old music or old radio programs.
Ooh, I love old radio programs.
My grandmother introduced me to them. They were her TV when she was a child, because she was born in 1932. So things like Lights Out, she wasn't allowed to listen to because she was too young, and she would open her window and listen to it on the neighbor's radio. So,
that's a smart way to get around it.
My grandmother was definitely something else. And honestly, she was the type of person that I wish was still around, because I could introduce people to her, because she was just that amazing, you know?
That would be amazing.
But yeah, if you need to find either me or Patricia, and for whatever reason can't, look for my girl Friday.
I will help you find her. Just look up Friday with the Library in the Blue Box. right at Friday Bash, and you can find me. Or at my author page, Jennifer Elliott. You can also find me at Fae Corps at Owlite, and I tend to hide there a lot. And Corpse Garden Chronicles, of course.
And of course, I'm usually at Fae Corps as well, so it's not hard to find either of us.
Nope.
Thankfully.
So I guess we shall tell you all good night and thank you for coming.